my name is Amy Collins, and I am here in the offices of New Shelves Books. And Free Advice Friday is sponsored every Friday, where I answer your questions. It's an hour of free consulting, and I am here because this is being sponsored, as always, by Bestseller Builders. It's so good to see you all. Please, if you're joining me live on Zoom, I would very much like it if you would just click on the Q&A box below whenever you have a question and just type in your question. People can always email me questions ahead of time. And for those of you who want to sign up to join us live, you can always do so at amysadvice.com. Going to amysadvice.com will give you, it'll take you to a page where you can look at all the old Free Advice Fridays. It will also take you to a registration page where you can join us live here on Zoom. We have more people here today than we've ever had before, and I want to welcome everyone. There's also a one phone call in listener. I'm so sorry, Mr. Phone Call Person, or Miss Phone Call, Ms. How about I stop using genders? But phone call person, I can't get questions answered that way, but again, if you ever want to join us live, you can join us on Facebook. I take a look at Facebook on a regular basis, and I make sure that I get all the questions there answered. And I also answer here live on Zoom. So let's get started with your questions. All right, let's see. Gail is asking, how long should she wait on a literary agent who has her partial manuscript? She submitted 100 pages to an agent, it doesn't matter which one, over 90 days ago, but the agent has not contacted her. She's tried reaching out to her via Query Manager and the general email account, but she hasn't gotten a response in over a week. Is this normal? I don't know if she's still considering it, or should she assume that the answer is no, she's not interested. You know, the agent is still updating her query and her Twitter blog. Okay, everyone, 90 days is nothing in the agent world. If this agent asked you to submit a partial manuscript, if it was a request, 90 days is minimum. Minimum. You could be looking at 6 months before the agent actually gets a chance to look at it. Go to the agent's page. You mentioned the name of the agency on your email, so you know where they are. Go to them and take a look at that agent's submission requirements. Does the agent say, do not follow up? Because if it says do not follow up, then you just have to wait. But if her submission requirements say submit, you know, under these guidelines, and most agents don't mind a gentle prodding now and then. It is absolutely okay every couple weeks to send a lovely, sweet-tempered email. Keep prodding, unless the website says not to. Be very careful not to poke at agents that very clearly put on their social media profile or on their webpage whether or not they want to be followed up with. If this agent did not ask you to submit, if this was an unsolicited query, you may never hear from her. And even if she solicited it, you may never hear from her. That's how things work. But Gail, that is not a no. 90 days is a no. I promise, I bet you anything the agent hasn't even looked at it yet. She's probably still looking at stuff that was sent to her last June. Most of the agents I know get thousands of submissions on a monthly basis, and you're in the queue. That's what I'm guessing anyway. I would not worry about it in the least. I think you're in good shape. All right, let's see if there's any questions here. There does not seem to be any questions under the on Facebook yet. So I'll go back to the Zoom and see the questions that you guys have. Let's see what's in the Q&A. Vicky is asking, what is the sequence of moving from a vanity publisher to self-publishing? Do you get everything uploaded to Kindle, etc., and then tell the vanity publisher? How do you not have a lapse in the process where your customers can't purchase the book? Okay, Vicky, great question. And I actually help people do this on a regular basis. So let's go through the process step by step. You start by looking at your contract. That's key. Does your publisher, I hate people who use air quotes, but I'm going to use air quotes when it comes to vanity. When you say it's a vanity publisher, I'm assuming it's one of the predatory ones, one of the ones you're not crazy about. Okay. If indeed you paid someone to publish your book, you got a contract, and that contract told you what you could expect when you wanted to get out of the contract. 90-day notice, 30-day notice? 180-day notice? How much notice do you need? And when you gave this publisher your money to publish your book, did you give them exclusive publishing rights? Those are the two things to check on your contract. The vast majority of them, the answer is no. If you're with Author Solutions or with any of their subsidiaries, I'm not a lawyer, but I've seen enough of the contracts that you did not give them exclusive publishing rights. So if that's the case, check your contract. If you did not give them exclusive publishing rights, you write your publisher and you ask them for the source files. The source files should most likely belong to you. You paid them to publish this book, so you should be able to get the InDesign files that they put your book together in. Check the contract. They may want to charge you a couple $100 for these source files. It's worth it. Take the source files, get those. Don't say anything about not wanting to continue with them, although they're going to have a pretty good idea. But trust me, they're used to this. It's no big deal. This is just a business arrangement, and you would like the business arrangement to come to an end. Get the cover files, get the interior files from the publisher, pay them the $200 if you have to, get it done. Turn those files over to a designer. That designer will strip out the other publisher's logo, and it will allow you to put your own ISBN on the book. So that's the next step. Get your own ISBN. If you're a U.S. citizen, get them from R.R. Bowker through the website myidentifiers.com. And if you're a Canadian author, then you get them from your government. If you're in the UK, there's another entity. So it depends on where you're calling in from. But get your ISBN for the paperback, get another ISBN for the ebook, take those files, get them created, upload them to Amazon and to either through Advantage, if you have an Advantage account, probably KDP is the best thing, and also upload the files to Ingram Spark. At that point, you can then send a letter to your publisher telling them that you're giving them the 30, 90, 180 days notice, however much notice they need. There will be two versions of your book for sale for those 30 days, those 90 days. They'll run side by side. I know you may hate that idea, but it is the only way to do it without any drop or lag in people being able to get your book. If that's your key primary motive, you want to run both books side by side during the lapse period for your publisher. And then they will take the book down from distribution. That first book will always exist on Amazon and in Barnes & Noble's databases because the book existed. So I would strongly recommend that with your book, you put a broadly updated cover. Make sure that you might want to completely redo the cover, but keep the title the same. If the Vanity published book got over 25 or 30 glowing reviews from Amazon readers, then you probably want to keep the title the same. But you don't have to. If you only have a dozen or so reviews, that's not enough. That's not a lot to worry about. Those dozen reviews are not worth. So, maybe spiff up the title, put stuff on the copyright page, formerly published as, the Grace book by. So that's an overview. Publishing a book, there's a lot of steps, but that is my advice on how to go from a Vanity publish to publishing it under your own imprint. Good luck, and let me know if I can help. Let's see. Anna is saying, and Anna, you've jotted this into the webinar chat, which I'm fine, but I can't read the whole question. So if there's any way you can cut and paste this into the Q&A box, I'd be so grateful because it cuts off at the end. It says your audiobook is live on Audible. The price started out at $13.69 and now 3 days later it's $7. But I can't read the rest of your question, I'm afraid. Let me see if I can expand this. Nope. For some reason, it stops you. So if you can drop your question into the Q&A box, Anna, I would be so grateful. All right, let's see what other questions we have. Linda's saying, what about an interior designer who won't give you or sell you the source files? Okay, well, if you hired an independent designer, and it's weird, it is very rare. I have never worked with an interior designer who would not turn over the source files. 10, 15 years ago, it was unheard of to ask for the source files. And no designer would turn them over. But any designer worth their spit right now is turning them over. They understand that that is the new world, and they charge more. You know, a lot of interior designers now will charge $2,000, $3,000 to lay out a 300-page book, but they put in their contract that you can own the source files. If you only paid someone $500, $600 to lay out a 300-page book, well, then yes, you probably do not have the right to the source files. So if they won't give you the source files, then what you need to do is you need to start over. There's nothing you can do. If you signed a contract or an agreement with a designer and you did not specifically ask for the rights to the source files before they got started, not only the law, but the right is on their side. They have the right. It's their work product. But I do not work with designers now, and I haven't for quite a few years, that do not offer source files at the end. Oh, Victoria's asking what source files are. I'm sorry, Victoria. Let me be more clear. A source file, when we talk about design files, is the program and the files in the program that the book is laid out and designed in. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, people used a program called Quark. Very few people use those anymore. A few designers whom I do not recommend use Word. Not a good idea. If you're going to use Word, you can do it yourself using templates that Joel Friedlander or someone gives you. But the vast majority of professional book designers use InDesign. And when I talk about source files, I mean the actual InDesign files with the fonts packeted, with all of the little wingdings and the art, where everything is packeted in so that your illustrations, the little chapter headers, the chapter enders, the page numbers, the fonts, everything is packaged together. That's what I mean by source files. With your cover, it's the same deal. What a publisher will often try and do is provide the author with a PDF. Now, a PDF is great. You can go to the printer and print off copies, but you can't make a lot of changes. You can make a few small changes. You can strip out their ISBN barcode. You can replace the copyright page. You can strip out their logo or their publisher name from your title page. But if you want to make any sort of real changes or updates, you need the source files. All right. Linda's saying there's a problem with bestseller builders getting to the resources page. Okay, well, thank you, Linda. I will check that out after this. All right. Let's see. Vicky's saying that her publisher is not responding to emails or voicemails. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. If your contract says that you deserve those things, then maybe it's time to call a lawyer. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to help. It's one of the big problems. It's why I spend so much time telling people that if you're going to publish your book yourself, publish it yourself. Keep your own distribution rights. Keep your files. You guys should own everything. It is very important that you do not put anyone between you and the books that you own. Now, that's not true if Macmillan or Random House or Simon & Schuster wants to publish your book. If you can get a traditional publisher to give you a $5,000 advance and an 8% royalty and 25% royalty on your ebooks, well, then absolutely. They can, I mean, that's great. But otherwise, no. If you're paying someone, you should own everything, including the rights. We've got a couple more emails that have come in, and I'd love to answer them, and then we will get to other people's questions here. Let's see. Mary is saying, how does she go about getting a cardboard display box to feature her books? Mary's got a series of books that she would like to display, 4 of them in a cardboard. You guys may have seen them. They're these cardboard, they're called riser stands. They're also called dumps. They're called a number of things, but shelf stands. There is a company that I love. I get nothing for recommending them, but it's called City Die Cut. City, C-I-T-Y, Die, D-I-E, Cut, C-U-T. They're in New Jersey. They are the best, the least expensive, and the most wonderful place to get those floor dumps. If you know those big cardboard stands where you can put 30 copies of your book in it, and they stand about 5.5 feet tall. Or if you want one of those nice cardboard risers that puts your 6 different books all stacked behind each other, City Die Cut is the place to go. Bookstores and libraries don't always, especially the chains, they can't use them. So make sure that you have an order and that you've got some proof of demand before you go and order these from City Die Cut or bookdisplays.com. There's a number of sites. Just ordering them and then hoping that people will order them is not smart. Talk to the bookstores. Barnes & Noble's not even allowed to use, I mean, you can't give them to your local B&N or Books A Million because those displays are quite often purchased by other publishers, and you're not allowed to just put yours in without paying a hefty fee to the central office. So pay attention to the store that you're working with, ask them if they want it, and then place the order. Wendy, I don't have because I wasn't expecting the question, I don't believe I have the link, but if you do, but you spelled it right. If you guys just Google City Die Cut in New Jersey, I promise you'll find the website. I'm sorry I don't have the link with me. All right, Anna has finished asking her questions in the chat box, so that's okay. Anna's wondering why the Audible book went from $13 to $7, and is it a bad sign? No, Anna, that's not a bad sign at all. Audible is owned by Amazon.com, and Audible put your book up, and you must have set the retail price at a certain amount. I don't know, what did you set it at? $15? That's pretty low for an Audible book, just so you know. But Audible is now selling it, and they started out by selling it for $13.50 or so. And now all of a sudden the price dropped down to $7. That's good news. I would recommend that you guys make sure you check out previous Free Advice Friday sessions that I've done. Go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Amy Collins. If you go to youtube.com/Amy Collins, you will see a short 5-minute video where I explain exactly how and why Amazon discounts books. I just did this 2 weeks ago. So Anna, why Amazon discounts books, ebooks, print books, and audiobooks? It's a long explanation that I just went into. So I highly recommend you go to youtube.com/Amy Collins, and right near the top, click on videos. You'll see Amazon discounted my book. How does it affect me? It doesn't affect you. I want to let you know it's a good sign. It means that your audiobook must have been moving. It means that your audiobook has shown some potential, and Amazon wants to encourage more people to listen to it and to download it and to choose it through their Audible program. This is good news, and it does not affect your pocketbook. Amazon, when they discount a book, they take it from their cut, not from yours. That's the short version of it, but go to that video, youtube.com/Amy Collins. Let's see. Wendy's saying, hi, well, thanks, you're welcome. Annette is asking, what do I think of Reading Stack's book promos? She ran one this week for women's fiction through Written Media, first time using both companies. It's a 5,000 person email list. Annette, I've heard nothing but good things about them, but I've never used them myself because we have our own mailing list. I am so sorry. But I will tell you that for any of you who are curious about whether or not a marketing company is a good idea or a bad idea, whether or not a marketing idea is a good idea or a bad idea, may I strongly recommend that you go to the Alliance of Independent Authors, ALLI. Orna Ross and her team has put together an amazing watchdog list. And I know that Reading Stacks, I think they list pretty highly on Orna's list. She likes them very much. I trust Ally. I trust because they're very, very careful. There also is a series of questions, and I'm going to remind you guys, a series of questions that you need to ask yourself before you give any marketing company, including mine, some money. And here are the questions. I've got a video about this on my YouTube channel, but I want to remind you, the 5 questions. I hope I wasn't prepping this, but here's some of the questions you should be asking yourself. Did I Google this? Did I go online and did I type in Reading Stacks and then the word problems or complaints? You have to start with Googling. It's just the basic research. Now, if 5 people are complaining about Reading Stacks, that's no problem. You can't do anything in this world without annoying at least 5 people. But if you find a dozen complaints or more about any company, if you find any lawsuits, if you find anything like that, then you should be nervous. The second thing is go to their website and find out other people. Who else has used Reading Stacks? If their clients, if their customers, if they don't have names or testimonials on their website, you should have testimonials and names on your websites. but go find those people who have used them before, Google them, drop them an email, ask them what their experience was. Go on Facebook or Twitter and say, who here has used Reading Stacks, and ask them for their experience. So that's another thing you need to do. A third thing that's very important is you ask them, you're not always going to be able to get proof of return on investment, but ask them for past examples of successes and failures. Ask them for their results. I know you cannot, you're not asking for proof or for return on the investment. That's not how marketing works, but they should have a pretty good idea if they're going to do a mailing, how many people opened that mailing, how many people clicked on the links, how many books were sold. They should have some idea. And this isn't all 5, but the last thing is run it by your tribe. Check things out with your best friend, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, you know, your other author friends. I get very excited about ideas, and I have found that it's always a good idea to run these ideas past other people who aren't in the industry, talk to them a little bit about it, and ask them honestly what they think. Because quite often, people who aren't as excited about something as I am will have a very good opinion or mental mindset about it. All right, let's see some other questions. I'm going to hop back on Facebook real quick. Hello, Paley. It's good to see you again. Paley's asking if it's a good idea to put your book up on KDP for pre-order before the actual launch, and what's the ideal time to keep it on pre-order? I am happy to answer this question again, but I do want to remind you guys that I actually answered this about, and Paley, you have no way of knowing this. This is fine. But this particular question I answered 3 weeks ago, and if you go to youtube.com/Amy Collins, it will be a much longer answer than the one I'm about to give you. But I'm going to give you the short version, a little commercial of what you'll find. If you go to youtube.com/Amy Collins, this particular question is only 3 weeks old. And at the moment, it is not a great idea to put your book up on pre-order. Putting your paperback or your hardcover up on pre-order does a couple of things to the Amazon system. This is new information, guys, but it does a couple things in the Amazon world which you don't want. It used to be a good idea to put your book on pre-order. It is not anymore for this reason. If you put your book up today, December 13th, on pre-order, and say that your pub date is January 13th, your book is live on Amazon, even if it can't be sold. And Amazon starts counting all of the stuff that it uses to give your book a boost or a lift in the rankings when you start selling. And Amazon now, when they put the ratings together, they look at the last 30 days worth of sales and they divide everything out by 30 or 40 days. If your book is live but not selling for 30 days in a row, it's going to significantly impact your lift, your ranking, and your ability to get attention when the book actually does start selling. Tons of people back in the day used to love to put their book on pre-order and get the orders all booked up. Get 200, 300, 400 orders just sitting there waiting, so that on release day on January 13th, bam, all of a sudden you had 400 orders and you shot to the top of the lists. Amazon doesn't allow that anymore. What they do is they make you go back 30 days and they say, yes, you sold 400 books over the course of 30 days. No, that does not mean that you're a #1 bestseller. It means you're only 80 in your category. And if the reason why you're doing pre-orders is for that lift, you're not going to get it. And it often harms you and it makes your book more available sooner. What I would recommend instead, and we actually have a question about this, so I'm going to tie this in. We have a question from Wendy, who's saying that at one point I indicated to send reviewers into Amazon a month or so before the pub date of your book. However, she also heard me say you shouldn't do pre-orders. And Wendy very rightly said, what the heck? That doesn't make any sense. So let me explain, because quite often I don't make any sense. This is what I meant. And Pieli, the same thing's true for you. And someday you're going to have to tell me if I'm pronouncing your name right, because I'm really enjoying getting to know you online, but I'm pretty sure I'm mangling your name, and that will mortify me when we actually do speak. So if you can give me the hyphenetic, if you can spell it out for me in IPA or something, I'd be grateful. This is what I mean. Do not put your paperback or hardcover on pre-order. Don't do it. If your pub date is January 3rd, put it up on KDP January 1st, 2 days early. and give it a couple days to get up there, and then start your marketing, and then start your sales. Go nuts. Get everyone excited about your book for January 3rd, and then hit them hard 2 days, 3 days between the 3rd and the 5th, and get those sales up. But when it comes to reviews, you can put your ebook up, and you should. We do this with our clients all the time. Put your ebook up on the 3rd or 4th week before your pub date. So again, if your book's coming out now, let's say January 13th, then you can put your ebook up today on December 13th. Get the ebook live. It's going to count because you're actually selling the ebook. So it's not going to harm, you know, your logarithms. You're going to have motion. People are going to be buying the ebook. They're going to be leaving reviews. So by the time your paperback or hardcover comes out in a month, when you put that hardcover or paperback up, and then you go through Author Central and you ask them to link all the editions, it'll take about a week. It doesn't happen that day. January 13th, your hardcover, your paperback, and your ebook won't all be on the same page. It takes Amazon a week or two. But if you do that a week or two later, and you've got 40 reviews on your ebook, those 40 reviews are going to show up on your paperback book a week after it comes out. It is a great way to get a lot of reviews quickly, and then you can start driving more sales through the paperback. And that is my advice to you on Wendy. That is why things were confusing. I'm sorry about that. Paperback versus ebook. Wendy's saying, is this advice the same for a series? No pre-orders for the book after the 1st. Wendy, it depends on your goals. If your goal is to get up as high in the ranking and the searchability as possible, then no pre-order. If the whole goal is to make things as easy as possible on your readers and allow them to pre-order so that you get as many sales as you can and you're of service to your readers, and you can get some excitement going, and then that's fine. Then put it up on pre-order. But for those of you who are interested in, and the only reason you're doing pre-orders is because you want to hit bestseller lists, pre-order on Amazon will not do it for you. It will actually work against you. But if you don't care about the bestseller list, if you're trying to be of help and of service to your readers, which I think is a great idea. Oh my gosh, everyone is texting me. Alan Gibson, I just got your text, and knock it off. Aren't you funny? So that is the deal. That is the question for that, Wendy. The advice is the same, whether it's a series or not. All right. Let's see. We have no other questions in the chat box. No other questions in the Q&A box. Let's go on Facebook and see who's. Oh, Nancy has asked a question. Oh, Pieli says I am pronouncing her name correct. Oh, yay me. All right. Nancy Guys is saying she has a fiction book that she published on Amazon several years ago. She wants to do an updated version. It has an ISBN that starts with 9, and she knows that I'm not a fan. Would I need to get a new ISBN for it? Nancy, here's the deal. You published your book, but did you take an ISBN from CreateSpace, from Amazon? Did you actually publish it through CreateSpace? Or did you publish your book with your own ISBN and just distributed it through CreateSpace? I want you to go back to Facebook, and I'd like you to answer that question for me, and then I will happily answer your question. It's not that I don't want to, but when you say that you published it on Amazon several years ago, I don't know if you mean you published it using CreateSpace's tools and their ISBN and barcodes, or did you publish it using your own ISBN? And if that's the case, then that's two very different answers. All right, Nancy, I'm going to come right back to you the minute you answer that question. But in the meantime, let me go back to the questions here on Zoom. Let's see. Oh my gosh, Linda is saying that, oh, Linda, she said, I had a webinar yesterday. It was about bookstores and libraries, and she liked it. She wanted me to tell you guys to check out the replay. Later this afternoon, somewhere around 3 o'clock this afternoon, if you guys go to bestsellerbuilders.com/2020replay, bestsellerbuilders.com/2020replay, you will see a replay of a webinar I did yesterday where I taught people what they need to know to get into Costco, the airport stores, Walmart, Target, Barnes & Noble, the big chains. We spent about 90 minutes going in detail about what it takes to get into the airport stores, the military stores, gift shops, Hallmark, that sort of stuff. Thank you, Linda. That was very lovely. I'm sorry my resources page is not working, but I will figure that out. All right, guys, other questions? Tell me, what can I do? All right, and okay, Nancy did publish under CreateSpace. So here's the steps. Nancy, if you're going to redo your book, CreateSpace owns your and KDP now. CreateSpace folded, and they were the mantle was taken up by Kindle Direct Publishing. They own your ISBN. They own the distribution rights to that book. If you would like to do a new book, you need to buy your, I'm begging you, buy your own ISBNs. Go to Bowker if you're a U.S. citizen at myidentifiers.com. Get the ISBN. Take the same book files that you gave to CreateSpace. Hopefully you did not use them for layout and design, because those files are gone. There's no source files. CreateSpace doesn't, hopefully you did that yourself. And lay out and design the new edition of your book, update it, get all the information freshened up. If you're freshening up more than 20% of the book, if you're updating all sorts of links, if you're putting a resource section in the back, whatever you're doing, if it's a nonfiction book, now let's see if you told me what kind of book it was. I am sorry that I do not remember. Let's see. I do not know if it was fiction or nonfiction. So, but if it's a nonfiction book and it's a revised second edition, put that right on the cover. People love revised second editions. If it's a fiction book, then it's just a second edition. You're going to want to put your own ISBN on it. You're going to want to publish it under your own auspices, your own publisher name. And KDP, Amazon, is not your publisher. You are your publisher. Name that publisher. Keep your own ISBN. Keep your files. Use KDP to distribute your book to Amazon. Use Ingram Spark to distribute your book to bookstores, libraries, gift stores, Costco's, that sort of thing. So if it's a fiction book, you don't put second edition on the front cover. All you do is you put a new cover on it if you need to, put a new ISBN on it, make sure your copyright page says previously published as, with the date and the publisher name, and you can put it out. I'm not sure why you're trying to put out a second edition of a fiction book that came out several years ago. My question for you, Nancy, is why aren't you putting out your next book? That book already exists. It's out there. Is there something about the first edition after all these years that needs a significant redo? And if so, maybe you should be spending your time writing your next book, not trying to fluff up your previous book or your old book. All right. Let's see if there's other questions here. Let's see. Annette saying, Amy, you can't set a price on Audible. That's true, Annette. I'm sorry. Each retailer of your audiobook independently prices the product and determines the price at their discretion. The regular price on Audible for an audiobook is generally priced based on its length. Annette, you're absolutely right, and I'm so sorry. I was thinking more about the audiobook for the library market. I completely messed up. I misspoke. Annette is absolutely right. When you put your audiobook up on Audible, they determine the price based on the length of the play length of your audiobook. You are allowed to set the retail price if you're going to sell the audiobook from your site and from a few other sites. But Annette, good catch. I'm sorry about that, guys. But if Audible is pricing your book at $13 and then it drops down to $7, that's a discount. And my contract, I don't know how the person who was asking about the audiobook, how they got it into Audible. Did they go through ACX? Are they just distributing through Audible? So how much they get paid is going to vary dramatically based on whatever program they use to get the book in there. ACX, you get a much smaller cut, and your price does fluctuate. If you go through a distributor, you get a much bigger cut. So it depends. All right, Anna, I hope Annette's hop in helped. All right, let's see if, am I getting a question? No, I am not getting a question. So I'm checking my texts. I'm checking Facebook. I'm checking Zoom for you guys. I got it all going on. We're hitting them all right now. All right. I believe that's it for questions this morning. Again, there's more of you on than have ever been on before, and I am so thrilled to see you all here. Barbara, great to see you. Ellie, I always love seeing your name. Some of you guys are new. Joseph and I believe Vicky, you may be new. I know one of the Anns is new, and there's a lot of tried and true friends on here. It's great to see Denise and Linda and the rest of you guys. So I am here every Friday at 10 a.m. I offer as much free consulting as you can stand. And as Annette just found out, I'm not perfect, but anything that I can't answer or I don't know the answer to, I come back the next week. And so it was great seeing you all. Oops, it looks like we have one more question. Oh, Vicky's just saying thank you. It's wonderful seeing you every Friday here on Facebook Live as well as on Zoom. Please go to amysadvice.com. Go to amysadvice.com, sign up to join us live on the Zoom session, or we will see you here on Facebook, either or. All of these are replayed and put up as replays, full-length sessions, as well as little mini vignettes by category on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/Amy Collins, for those of you who don't want to sit and listen to a whole 35 or 45 minutes of me, we actually grab out the little topics on YouTube in little 5-minute sessions. So go to youtube.com/Amy Collins, and I will see you here next week